All right, what is up, everyone? Please let me know if you can hear us. Just checking on my end if everything is okay. Seems okay. Just might have a problem with the chat. All right, what's up? I'm joined by the one and only Trader Tim. What's up, Tim?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
And today we're going to dive into some technical analysis, and we're going to dive into probably altcoin setups because Bitcoin is ranging. As you know, I am shortly going to dive into my thoughts on Bitcoin. You probably already know if you've seen the video of this morning, and I want to keep that short because I think the main opportunities will lie with altcoins. There's also a cool feature update coming for the pivot indicator, which you will probably see today. And let me just check if we are being understood correctly, if we're properly live, before I talk to myself or talk to Tim for 20 minutes again. Let me just check if everything is fine, because I think my chat is not coming through properly. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's all good. We're all good. We can hear. What's up, Dennis? What's up, Air Crew? Okay, so first things first, very simply put, and Bitcoin is in the range and we're bouncing from the 0.5 of the range. Now Bitcoin is heading up. Very shortly put, the weekly is still favoring downside, as I've explained in my videos, but right now the daily is favoring upside. We'll dive into that a little bit more, but for now, upside for the day seems to be the play. We see some strong reactions from altcoins. So if Bitcoin keeps on ranging here, which I think it will, so as you have seen, I have mapped out the premium of the range here, obviously also above, and the discount of the range. As long as Bitcoin just stays in between here, then it is a very good environment still for altcoins to run, especially now they've had 20-30% dumps. So very nice opportunities there. So I want to go into that in this stream, and I want to give Tim some chance to cook up some nice altcoin setups for us. But for now, Bitcoin is simply in this range. If we go through some statistics real quickly, we see here already exhaust pools going on the daily. So we see quite some moves on the daily. We're going to dive into that a little bit more. But more importantly, you see that all around the board, there is exhausted bear signals on the week. I actually have to take more data for that one. Exhausted bear signals on the week, except for Bitcoin, right? So this is something I talked about in my earlier video where I said there's a case to be made where Bitcoin is going to go lower, but altcoins will be bouncing. And for now, we're seeing a bounce. And the question is, are we going to continue to keep on bouncing, which will come back later? But just reviewing quickly the statistics for Bitcoin. So if you have the weekly high right there on top of the range and the weekly low here, then the question is, okay, what are the chances of taking out that weekly high? For now, we have a bullish day, so unless we can just follow the day, there's no shorts right now, maybe higher. We'll get into that. We see that Ethereum is quite exhausted, but Bitcoin, we see here that 81.2% of weeks see further displacement down if the weekly high holds. The only reservation I have against it is that we bounce from this 0.5 of the range. We have bullish daily statistics. If you go to the day right here, then we see that only 20% of days would take out the daily low and 80% of days would move higher. So that's what's happening now. This is also what I discussed in my video today. So if we put on the pivot zones, this will become more clear. As you see that actually for the day, we're still at the edge of the P1 zone, right? So if anything, this would be a nice place to at least temporarily reject and possibly go higher after. Another weird zone is all we've seen these act as support resistance zones a lot. But what I do want to show already is something pretty cool. This is the indicator update that's being pushed tomorrow. Tim already is using it now. But so we see now that the indicator is painting us the Bitcoin zones, the pivot zones for both the weekly and the daily. But if you, for example, what we had to do first was, copy and paste all these zones every time we switch assets. But look at it now; it's a thing of the past. To go through Cardano, for example, bam, pivot zones are there. Let me just remove this one. Pivot zones are there for the day and for the week. Go to AVAX. Bam, pivot zones are there. Anything that's in the dashboard, Doge, bam, pivot zones are there. Look where Doge bounced from, right? Very nice to see. The bottom of that pivot zone. Ethereum was the same thing. Bottom of that pivot zone, right there, beautiful bounce. So you can just see now that with the new indicator update, we'll only have to copy paste the data once a week or once a day for the dailies. But you see that there's quite a strong push. You see the pivot zones being broken on some assets. Solana was a very nice one with a very nice bounce from the low of that pivot zone. This is the point of interest that I was looking at. I shared this in the Discord. So, and Solana is having a very strong bounce, which is funny to see, as I yesterday made a video to show you that Solana was actually one of the assets that was holding up the best. Check out the Sergio Analysis channel for that video. But that's just a little showcase for the new indicator. I'm really excited about this one. I think it's going to be epic because they have proven to be very, very, very useful, these pivot zones. And now we don't have to copy paste them all the time anymore. It will be very easy to use them across the board. All right. So quickly into Bitcoin. Always good to start with the king. The main idea you already know. We have a range here. We also seem to have a bullish day. And if you get a bullish day, then actually what we're looking for is price action to end up in this range right here. And the reason is because everything above this is only reserved for very ranging or very trending days. And right now, we simply do not have a very good environment for a massive trending day. It doesn't mean it cannot happen, but not the best environment for it. So then naturally you're looking at point of interest somewhere within here. And the first one I see is still the fair value gap that we were looking at yesterday. Let me just put that one on right here. Or sorry, not the fair value gap. It's the order block. It's a supply zone. I think Tim was saying we have a supply chain. I'm going to leave that at him. So this is something that is very nicely located. So if we get that bullish day, then you keep doing something like this. Then you want to target somewhere within this block. And then this is a very interesting point of interest. And we also have a naked daily point of control right there, right at the bottom of it. So this is a very nice confluence area, which if we get that bullish day, this is a logical area to be looking at. I want to quickly hand it over to Tim. Tim, if you want to share your thoughts on Bitcoin, if you agree or completely disagree with me, I would also like to know. And after that, we're going to altcoins. Guys, if you want us to chart any altcoins, please let us know. We're going to be taking requests today.
Yes.
All right. Yours. I'm just going to put your screen bigger because the resolution is a little worse, but
yeah, still have problems with sharing the resolution on the right page, but going over to Bitcoin, I have not much to add about your TA in combination with the pivots, but I will dive in a little bit deeper on the price action of Bitcoin. We see we have a massive big daily range. It's also the range which you are mentioning, where we have that previous all-time high, and then we get the dip by the end of November at 90K. And last week we get a flush to the upside and flush to the downside, right? So everybody gets stopped out, especially the longest. So from there on, Bitcoin starts trending down since this weekend, from last week, let's say last week. We're trending down, but now currently forming also what I've already shared in the Discord, is that we are building up a supply chain, because every supply gets blocked by another supply, right? So if we tap the supply, it creates a new supply right here. This is also the first area to look for rejection after the bounce of Monday evening. And right now we are also forming a new local range on the hourly range, where we have a nice little range deviation has been done yesterday in the afternoon. There we reject from, gets a nice short from there yesterday. But from yesterday evening, we are climbing back up. Asia session was bullish. London session is also bullish, and it looked like demand is taking over a little bit. So if I want to short it, I will be a little bit more careful or taking sooner any profits because of the build-up in demand, right? We don't have the best grade return to zone to the lows because we have built up two big demand zones right here. One at, let's say 97K, and one lower between 79 and 96. That was also the pivot low of the day for today. So that could be also the low of the whole day. So I'm a little bit cautious about shorting this idea. But I'm a trader, and what I see now locally is also on the 3-minute, we are forming a range. We're trending up, right? From, let's say, the daily low today, we are trending up. And this is my market structure. And when we're trending up, you pull your range from high to low. And here we have our new range where we have first local deviation has been done right here. So what I prefer is perhaps something like this. When we break structure, then we can target the range low, but it's a scalp. But perhaps we can refill this imbalance right here with the CPI news, and that is also a great area to look for a possible bounce. And what I do prefer the most is that we don't touch now this supply chain, that's a 1 hour supply, so that we perhaps can short this or not, and then wait till this zone here and then take a long to this supply zone. That could be a nice opportunity for today on Bitcoin. So these are a little bit my thoughts. The news is coming in 1 hour and 15 minutes. So if I want to enter before it in a short, not a long. And otherwise, I need to have a little bit more patience and wait for the pullback in this. I expect this box here from 96.7. So that's a little bit my point of view of Bitcoin. Do I expect more downside to come? It could be. But I think with the flush of last week, where I think every over-leveraged trader, which opened in this whole move to the 104K, which have open long position, gets stopped out by this wick, right? So I think the market maker has been done. And I believe everybody is waiting for, again, perhaps a flush to the downside and waiting for 85K or 88K. I don't see that happening, but it's just a thought. I don't know what will happen, but I think we could do something probably like this coming weeks, then get a cool off around Christmas, and then in January we will go parabolic again. But that's just a thought, of course.
All right, so more or less similar thoughts as me. Quickly switching back to my screen there. We have some requests, so we're going to dive into altcoins. Near, Sand. I think I can actually show these on stream. There we go. Like see Near and Sand. We're going to dive into those first. Arweave, yes, we can look into that. CRV, we can look into that as well. I know CRV has been killing it, but we'll go first things first. But yeah, I agree that, by the way, this leverage flush has flushed out a lot of traders. I personally, and you know, I've been advocating that from the start, that I don't think we'll see 84K. I do think we will see 90K swept once more, but it might take longer than people expect, you know, because you're in upwards facing consolidation, and this is something I explained as well. So if you have this, then you could easily do something like this and eventually do something very drastic like that.
Of course.
So eventually, I do think we'll see it, but like you say, we're traders. We don't have to predict. We will react, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it one more time. And the longer it ranges here, the better it is for altcoins. So let's hope it does. Okay, first things first. Let's dive into Near. So I'll quickly show it first. All right, so Near also had this massive dump down. You see that it quite aggressively wicked below the P2 zone. But now it is recovering. This one is going to be very interesting, Tim. You do see some the daily P1 zone right now. These are the levels for the daily P1 zone are shaping up nicely. What we can actually do now, let me just show you how we do it, is actually get the session statistics, because it is time to get session statistics. So if I just go here, press session, then my session data is being generated for all assets. And let me just, there it is. And then I just simply copy the session data, put it in my pivot zones. And now I have the session data for all assets for this current thing. So we see that the pivot zones for the session on near are as follows. Where you see that if you want to keep upside, then you're expecting the session P1 to be put in somewhere within here, and the daily high to be put in somewhere there. So interesting, but I'm speeding ahead of things. Obviously, we need to start with the high time frame, so I want to leave that up for Tim. Tim, yeah. If you want to take it over, do a little bit of your high time frame analysis on near, and then we'll go into the other assets. So let me just put your screen on. All right, you're good to go.
Yes, I was already a little bit busy with it, and I found a nice accumulation schematic on the weekly time frame. Looking over for the market structure from from beginning of this from the summer of last year. We are trending up, right? And we broke structure from, let me check, this high here already. So we are into a bullish environment. And here we are getting a new range where this is my initial range high, initial range low. We swept it once and we swept it twice, came back into demand here. And from there, I think on the lower time frame, I can check, we broke back to bullish, and also between tab 2 and tab 3. The weekly at least also broke back to bullish here. So in that case, we have a confirmation of this schematic where the target will be $9. So that's first of all what I'm seeing currently. So now we are around in at least at the weekly around the EQ, but we get already a significant drop to the downside of these last 2 days. So do I see any significant demand zones on the weekly? Yes, I do see, because here we have on top of, on below of the range, we have a demand zone, and we have also built that up by 2 fair value gaps. So that could also be the case that we will come down to there. But for now, this is my overview of near on the weekly. Of course, if we look on the left from 2022, we do have here a unmitigated fair value gap, but that is far away. That's $14, right? So that is too soon to say that we come there. My first target will be $9. So I have a confirmation that that was confirmed. So let's dive into a little bit lower time frame. I will check. I will put in the dots again. So let's pull up the market structure from this low to the high, to the current high. If we do have any structure on the daily, so let's see. Right there we have structure here. And this is my daily market structure low right here. This is my daily market structure low. So let me check. Price came nearby the daily market structure low. Let me check if there is any. Yeah, we have here a nice 18-hour order block here that is acting like.
And put on the pivot zones indicator.
Yes, I will.
And then you will see something else nice. Because we like confluence.
True.
And zoom in on the daily. No. I mean, like to the hour. Oh, because you were in a little bit high time frame. Never mind. I'll get back to that later.
Yeah, it's a great we bounced.
The current daily low. We'll get to that later when you go into the lower time frames. I thought you were on another time frame.
Well, I'm a little bit doing a breakdown of the higher to the lower.
Yeah. Sorry.
So no, don't mind. So what we do see right now is that we came into this order block right here, get the bounce off from it. Let me check if there is any demand above our supply. Sorry, we do have this here, also an order block. Let me check furthermore what we do have. This is also a better place to look, where we have a buy to sell model, and here is also the same. It's a sell to buy. That is the reason why it's a demand zone. Anyway, what price did is not broke back structure back to bearish, because also on the 6, if you have this kind of structure, this is the external structure, right? One moment. From this low, pulling my market structure here, then this is internal structure, right? And from here, we do not have 2 consecutive candles trading lower than each other. We do have bearish candles, but these are in between also bullish candles. So that is not a valid market structure pullback. So this is on the 6, this is my market structure low, and we only swept it, right? So that is bullish in my opinion. So I think we could head towards the supply or even go higher from here. So this is a great zone to look at. Currently, from this low, from that weekly low, we're creating a new range. So yeah, now it's getting interesting, perhaps for a local day trade. Keep in mind that eventually, I believe that $9 will get hit, but we need to find, of course, a proper place to look for a swing position. Let me check right now what has happened. Now let's put in the the pivot indicator. It's the same, a little bit view of Bitcoin.
But this is exactly what you want to see, right? Because you have the P1 of the day, so the daily low is now put in at the bottom of that P1 zone. So that makes for a great setup.
Agree. But otherwise, we need to reject here. If we do something like this, for example, and then came back once again, that could be the high for today, and then get this one, because here we are forming a range right here.
And it has confluence, right? Because that's in the daily P2 zone. So if you put in the daily high as P2, you would expect the daily high to be put in there. 80% probability.
So let's try to find an entry for today, right? That's a little bit the case, of course. We do have the daily low here at 6.150. Let me check. Here we take out some liquidity. Here we do have an order block. And we do have left some imbalances right here. Let me check on the lower time frame if I can get any better. This is also a last sell to buy model. We put in the daily low for today so far. And here we broke structure from this last belt side sell to buy. And here also we broke structure. So these are great 2 zones to look for higher prices. And invalidation is simply below that the pivot zone, the pivot low of today. Not from yesterday, for today. And the target will be the range high, but in the end target, the supply zone above. That is also aligning with the pivot zone indicator. So that's a little bit my idea of it. But we but in case we get now from here higher, then I will not take it.
Yeah.
That's a little bit the case.
All right. So
yeah, we have a lot of liquidity. Here we have still a good risk to reward if we enter on this first demand zone. Here you can see we are building up some nice liquidity, right? That is what London did, what pre-New York did now. Building up some nice liquidity. We can flush this out, came into this zone. So that could be a first entry. And second one, this one. Stop loss below the low. Simply invalidation. Something like this. And then target, first target will be here. You need to take out something right there, because then we take out that initial range high of the bigger range of that. We have a 6 hourly range, right? So keep in mind of that. So that is my idea, a little bit of on today for a trade on near.
Awesome. Let me add some 2 cents to that, because then things get interesting. It looks like it's just going higher right now, but in case it does get to the entry, what you can do is use multiple time frames. So we have the pivot zones now on the daily. We have the pivot zones on the weekly. So we see we actually wick below and deviated below the weekly. Not that much. The weekly pivot zone was the bottom right here. Then we have the daily. So right now our daily P1 is put in nicely in that P1 zone. The current P2 is put on outside of the P2 zone. And then what you can do is, if you're looking for entries, so this is, let me just put that like that. So P1 is here, P2 is there. And what you can do, that makes it more clear. If you're looking for those entries, then for me, New York is probably what most of us are trading. What you can do is enter during the New York session, pretty much just check, okay, here we have the New York session, right? Just opened 12 p.m. for Minoma standards. What you can do is select the pivot zones, show the sessions, which we have now. And then you see these are the session zones. Let me just remove the daily just for clarity for a bit. So what you can see, this is one of the things, the areas Tim was looking for an intraday long. And you can see that if price would get here, that would still be within the session P1 zone, right at the edge there. I would have preferred, to be honest, to see price retract a little bit sooner. So not sure we would still get it. But if you would get it here, then it's still very much in the session P1 zone, where you would want to see the first session before continuing further up. But in case that doesn't happen, like Tim said, in case it goes up, no entry to be had. And in that case, you're just looking at the high time frame pivot zones for targets for the day, in this case daily, and we're entering the zone now. So this looks like a good area, because you have that high of the range there that Tim marked out, and we know that it's within the daily P2 zone. So I think that wraps it up nicely, doesn't it, Tim?
Yeah, totally agree.
All right, then we go on to the next one. But quick shout out to the man, the myth, the legend that I've seen in the Discord as well. Just have to say it. I think the top is in at 104K until the year 2029. Bitcoin just started a new multi-year bear market that will end with 1K around $700. All right, I'm willing to.
It's a capo speaking.
Yeah, this is I think Herbert Pokey from the Discord is saying, like, shout out, man, I appreciate you. I'm willing to take a bet on that. That's not gonna happen, but we'll see. Okay, next one is okay. We'll do a CRV first, and then Sand. Well, let me just quickly, because we have CRV, we have Sand, we have WIF, and ENA. I see. Oh shit, we have a lot more. Okay, so we're going to look at Sand. We're going to look at CRV, Arweave. Let's just start with. I want to cycle through a little bit first. So one of the things I did yesterday in the video, so members will know that you can see more or less relative strength by just looking at the weekly pivot zones. The further down from the weekly pivot zone price goes, the more relative weakness it is showing, right? And I have this overview here. Basically, I don't want to get into that. Watch the video I posted yesterday. But the further away this was from 1, so the higher this value, the weaker it is relatively to other assets, right? So the assets that have performed the strongest or held the strongest are Bitcoin, Solana, YGG, Doge, of which Tim took an epic short, which I contradicted. I was wrong. But so these are holding pretty well. And you can see that, for example, and again, the explanation is further somewhere else. But if you go, for example, to Solana, you see that it held that P2 zone pretty well. And you can see that because it had a low value, which means that it, relatively speaking, for its own price action, didn't go down that much. So Solana actually held quite well. Then we have, and I'm saying that because we have Sand, USDT, which dropped quite far below it, right? So Sand, relatively speaking, has held a lot less well. It did a lot more relative downside compared to other assets. So Sand, let's see what AR did. I'm just quickly doing a round around. So Sand held that zone pretty well. You can see bounces all around on a lot of these assets from that zone. So not looking too bad at all on first glance. And CRV, you can do a quick one. I mean, beautiful, right? So this, to me, is indicating quite a bit of, at least quite a bit of strength, because yesterday in that whole dump when everything was dumping quite a bit, we see that CRV held this zone pretty nicely, just wicked below it, which means that compared to its regular price action, it didn't go down that far below it. So Tim, I just want to, let me check. Let's first start with Sand and then just work our way down the list. Let's start with Sand, and I want to hear your thoughts on what it looks like.
Okay. I have here the weekly chart. It's not compared to NER. There's a clearer range formation for me. So a clearer end target. I like the chart better, but this is also looking like a nice rounded bottom, of course, where if we flip this supply, this is the only supply we have here. This is a weekly order block with a weekly fair value gap where we just tapped into last week. So there always you see a reaction, and that is always a good thing to keep in mind. But if we flip this, so that is at around $1.40, I believe we can fly twice to this zone right there, but that is too far away for now. What have we done at this moment? Sand has fallen deep, and I don't like these lows here. What I wanted to see a little bit was a retrace a little bit deeper into this weekly fair value gap here, and that didn't do so far. But that is on the weekly, right? So okay, we do have something like this to keep in mind that this is a weekly fair value gap. Now let's go over to the daily. What do we see on the daily? Here we can see a nice range forming. Right here. It's a little bit of a big deviation on the upside, but right, you have a little bit of a manipulation phase on the upside. A little looks like a little bit of a Bitcoin price action. I'll put it on top right here, and then we came back down, but we didn't touch the range low, and that is also in alignment with the weekly fair value gap. So that is one thing. Now let's look into where price bounced off from this 12-hour order block. Price came into, and what do we have left behind? It's looking a little bit of the same. Right here on top of that range, we do have supply. Let me check on the lower time frame. Let's dive into some multiples. I believe that you could see further upside today and tomorrow. We have also a 4-hourly fair value gap that hasn't been touched yet. So keep in mind there. Let's now dive into the Session points. Yeah, we did fall further below the weekly pivot point, but came into extreme demand. We didn't touch the weekly fair value gap, so be aware of that. Currently at the daily pivot high already. Okay. Let me check what we do have right now. And we do have some kind of a range forming. It's the same, but on the 1 hour. One moment. Let me check how this is looking like. We don't have any supply above of this price here. Looks like it wants to break out of it. Okay, this is a 50-minute demand that has been holding as support this morning. Then we have this zone right here. It's also a bigger zone. It's also, this is a demand chain, right? So if price comes towards the 70 cents ish, 70 cent, you can look for perhaps a long entry. But if we break out, then it's gone, right? I think if we can manage to break a proper candle above this, we can shoot back up towards the 8.5 ish. So that's a little bit my view at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And you also have this massive fair value gap right above us, almost stepping into it.
Yeah, the 4 hourly. Yeah, we have not any proper structure here. So yeah, often see when you don't have any structure. This is structure, right? Here we have structure.
Yeah.
But this is just a deep fall. And without any structure, also not on the lower time frame. If you look on the 5 minutes, we don't have any structure here. So if we break this with a 50-minute candle body closure, and we stay there, then it could go fast. Here we have built up some nice liquidity here. So yeah, we can shoot up fast. But I prefer a little bit here and then do this. But it's the same, I think, on the most of the altcoins. I created also in the Discord a setup of Pepe. I don't think that is the one on the dashboard, right? But
it is.
Oh, it is, right? Okay. I shared an idea on Pepe. It's almost the same. But then we have proper range formation. So that is much clearer on Pepe.
Yeah.
I like that setup. But for this, it's an idea, right? It's an idea to look at it. I prefer near. If I have to choose for today, I prefer near than over sand.
Agreed. Also because sand is already at above its P2 zone. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's no long to be had right now, and if it comes back, then it's unlikely it will go for the highs again today. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good compliment.
Yeah. So yeah, not the favorite asset. So let's move on to the next one. I have a couple of requests. I see Solana. I'm just going to quickly cover Solana because I've been covering that one quite a bit, at least in the VIP. So Tim, I like to hear your thoughts on it. So my thoughts on it are the following. Well, I've been looking at this area for a while now. And the reason I've been looking at this area since last week, I've been looking at this area because, simply put, I mean, high time frame, still bullish, right? There's no denying that. We had that breakout there. Obviously, we had the all-time high that we tapped. I mean, there's no doubt, or very, very little doubt in my mind. There's no certainties, but very little doubt in my mind that Solana is getting ready to gear up for an impulsive move past all-time high, right? It's the classic, oh shit, we rejected from the all-time high, followed by the mega impulsive pump that's going to leave a lot of people left behind. The only question is, how far is it going to go down? So for me, when we rejected here, what I was seeing is just here a consolidation period where you could also see money flowing into Ethereum. Right now we have the pump on Ethereum, but in general, you can see that Solana Ethereum has been going down. So there's this rotation going on with the ETF filing news here, which was obviously a sell the news event. So if you see all those things combined, then it makes sense that Solana is going to consolidate a bit more, and you're going to have to look for nice entries on the lows. Now, the reason I waited at least to this level was because last week and this week, if you have consolidating, a little bit bearish, right? You have a little bit downwards consolidation going on, then you're looking at P2s within this zone right here. So the weekly P2 zone, or well, somewhere within here, it could also be a little bit higher. And then what I'm looking for is simply point of interest within those zones, right? Because you know, with 80% certainty, or 80% of weeks will have their P2, their weekly low within this area, if the weekly low gets put in after the weekly high. So why does this make sense? It's because you had here this very important high, and this was the second attempt of it. What you just often see is an SR flip of such a level. At the very least, such a level is going to give a bounce. And what people mostly do wrong with these kind of levels is that, you know, because this is a massive, massive, massive SR level. So what happens if you pass this, then what people say here is like, oh, retest and then go up. This is not a retest. It's locally, you could call it a retest, but the problem with a proper, or at least it's a retest, but it's not an SR flip. Because for a proper SR flip on a high time frame level, you need to see distance in the level before price comes back there for proper SR flips. So here you've had a proper clearance of this level, and then price comes back to test this resistance that was clear resistance, right? But because we had this blow off here followed by the retest, so clear resistance. And then once you clear it with distance and come back, then we can go for the SR flip. So this was a very nice area for me to look at. Then we also had, I think we had the volume node here. No, we didn't. There was something else. It doesn't matter. And then, you know, if you combine all things, usually in a strong trend, you're looking somewhere between the 0.5 and the 382. Here, beautiful on the 0.5. So you had that confluence as well. So in terms of retracement, made for a very nice retracement area. Now we're getting the bounce. And the question is, will this be the bounce, or are we going to go down lower? I would personally like to see a little bit better of a bottoming formation for me to say that this would be the low. I think it's too early. I would be surprised to just see it bounce up like that, but you know, if you get a proper alt season, it definitely can. And until you get like a proper bottoming formation, and for now I don't see it on any time frame. Nah, those lows do not look very appealing to me. Nope, they don't. So I'd rather wait for a little bit of better bottoming formation, and then if you see that here, then yes, it could be the bottom. And if you don't get it, then the question is, where are you going to go? And I know Tim has some ideas on it. I would personally be surprised to see it go much lower, to be honest. I mean, if it goes lower than this, then you're looking at, you're really looking at quite lower prices, because there's not much support there. But Tim, I'm going to give that over to you and hear your thoughts about it. If you think, or where you think are the point of interest for Solana to form bottom.
Yeah, totally agree with your analysis about also the SNR flip. So totally agree with it. First of all, I see in the chat Johnny took the Pepper position already. I'm not into it, but congrats. Anyway, on Solana, and what I do like, and I shared it already yesterday, I think, is that on the weekly time frame, if you look on the weekly, we are bullish on Solana, right? And I expect much higher prices, but
we are very bullish.
Yeah, but what we did, right? If we look purely to the structure, let's pull the structure of the beginning of this year. Then we have on March we have a top, the same as on Bitcoin. Then we range in this bigger range right here, and here we have our market structure weekly low. And then you get the push towards the upside and take out the previous all-time high from November 2021. But we only SFP'd it, right? And we closed below of it. Also, the week after, we didn't grab again the all-time high and close a bearish candle. And from there, we get the retracement down towards the SNR level that is tested at the previous all-time high. So this is much in confluence with what you are saying, right? So that is also what I'm looking at, but I have a little bit more to look for, especially when we see a proper bottom formation, and I don't see that on the lows yet. And why is that? Because we were just front run the weekly fair value gap, so we didn't create a nice weekly fair. We didn't touch that weekly fair value gap that is covered by the weekly order block. So I expect at least that Solana will come lower than the $200 and then bounce off from somewhere around $180, somewhere there. But that won't have to happen this week. We could also see some kind of an indecision candle again, and then for next week we get another flush, and then we get a great pivot point, right? When we have this, when we have this low from this week, we get another candle which is coming with a wick lower into the daily weekly fair value gap, or perhaps the weekly order block, and then the next week we get the candle with a wick higher, and then we get the final expansion to the upside. So that will be around Christmas or the beginning of January, right? So that is what I'm seeing, thinking of the price, what could be a good bottom formation. And also, if you look on the daily, we don't have much support here. We do have a mitigation of this daily fair value gap right here, but here we have also significant daily fair value gap, which isn't mitigated yet. So it's all in alignment with each other. And what I see, okay, if we are now going up this week, I see here a daily order block. That is my supply zone. And it's also in alignment with the structure of the drop of Monday, right? We don't have proper structure to the downside created by the drop, right? If you look on the structure from, let's say from this weekend, the trend is trending down, right? We're pointing down where we're creating lower highs and lower lows. And this is on the hourly, my last lower high, which causes the lower low and didn't tap the weekly fair value gap. So in this case, we also now can see that this will be our new range, because this is the initial range high, initial range low. We're touching the equilibrium right now. We did that, and then we could see price come back up towards that supply zone, perhaps wick it, and then close back inside, and then we get the pullback to the downside. That is what I'm expecting a little bit about Solana. I'm not so bullish at the moment. If you look for trading opportunities, yes, of course, we could see some buying opportunities. We have the pivot high also around that market structure. So that is in alignment with each other. And I don't want to see price come lower than 210, I think. No, I don't want to see that for today at least. So yeah, that is my higher time frame analysis. And if you look also on the lower time frame, I should be a little bit cautious because of this move to the upside. I should a little bit careful with it. This is the only place where I should be interested in. On the 50-minute, we have a demand zone, but it's in premium of the bigger range of the 1 hourly. So yeah,
I wouldn't long it.
No. And I think this one is gone already. And I don't know if today we will not see this low. I don't believe that, but perhaps by the end of the week, we could see that. I don't know what the high of this week is on Monday. Yeah, we do have this in the supply zone. Here we have a Monday high at the first hour of the trade of the week. So that is most of the time a strong pivot. So we could see slow grind up, right? When we then do something like this, pull back, and then get a distribution to the downside into next week. So that's what I'm seeing a little bit. So I should not look for longs here.
Yeah, so we agree, and I have some more layers of the cake to add, if I can add my statistics on why shorts make more sense than longs. So it's pretty much the same as what I was saying first, that there's no good bottoming information there yet. So this is definitely too early to say there is a bottom there. I would also agree that lower seems the more likely place to sweep the lows. And besides of what Tim just said, if you look at this, so we had this fair value gap right here, which is below the order block you pointed out, Tim. And what we see is that obviously we have statistics on fair value gap, so we can check, okay, what are the odds of this fair value gap breaking? Now, what we do is that we just go to the dashboard, we go to the beta feature of the fair value gaps. And here, right here, this is the fair value gap we're looking at, right? So this fair value gap from 9th of December, we can see here, December 9th, 2024, we created this fair value gap. We see it's 5.25% in size. So what I like to do is, well, 5.25% in size, that is pretty decent. So what I do then is I want to look at fair value gaps between 6% and say above 3% to see the statistics. Then what I can do is say, okay, well, Friday, which date is it on Friday? Today is the 11th, so 12, 13. So I can check, okay, what are the odds of closing this thing by the end of 13? I'm going to increase this size a little bit because I don't have enough data points between 3 and 7, 47. So this is actually this is a really big fair value gap. That's what you can take away from it. But 77 data points is more or less enough to go on. So we have 82 data points right now, fair value gap between 2% and 8%, getting more of the lower range because you're being more conservative. But what you basically see on the right side is the probabilities of this thing tapping, filling, and reversing before the end of Friday. And on the left is the chance of right now. And let me explain that further if I just copy that into here. So we're talking about this fair value gap right there. And then we're going to layer confluence with all the different statistics and whatnot. Whoops. Well, it doesn't matter. We're talking about, what am I doing? We're talking about the fair value gap. That is this one, right? So fair value gap right there. What this basically is saying is that for today, after 1 day, so this was the confirmation of the fair value gap, after 1 day, 36.6% of these will have had a first tap. That's happening right now. After 1 day, 7.3% of these will have had a full fill. So filling this today until here is pretty much, that would happen only in 7.3% of cases. So it's not a lot. Reversing it would be 2.4%. So also not a lot. And reversing it would mean closing a daily candle above this level. Close above here is reversal of FVG. That's how the rules work. So if you see that, then at least for today, there's not a lot of probability even to fill it, but let alone to reverse it. And just to stick with today, if you put on the pivot zone, so we have the pivot zones. If we just check the daily for now, we can see that, the extreme of the daily P2 zone is before the end of the fair value gap, right? So we already starting to build like statistic of saying, okay, it's not very likely that we're going to break this fair value gap. And then if you look at the statistics on the right, this is basically saying, okay, what are the odds of this happening before the end of Friday, which is Tuesday, Thursday, for there, right? Then we can see 26.8% chance to have a full fill, so until here, and only an 18% chance of reversing it, so closing above here. So all in all, what it's just indicating is that if you have the strong bearish move down, then these are fair value gaps are very rare to fill. So that's just basically saying many reasons of that lower seems more likely than higher for now. The low doesn't look that good. And, the best bet for long would be to wait for the lows to be swept, or at least a better long formation to be had. So those are just some extra statistical confluences on, if anything, this might be an interesting short area. And if you reach that order block, that would be a very interesting area. Right, Tim?
Yeah, agree.
All right, then on to, or how much time do you have, Tim?
30 minutes.
All right, then let's go on to CRV, because that one was also in the request. Let me put on the weekly zones. Oh yeah, so CRV held pretty well. That's what I said earlier. CRV is holding pretty well. You can see it didn't deviate much below that weekly P2 zone. So very interesting asset. Look at, obviously had a massive, massive run up. So, you know, oh my God, like what a crazy run so far. So, you know, there is definitely also a word of warning there to not ape into CRV, but I'm going to leave that to Tim. So Tim, if you want to take us through it.
Yes. It's a massive explosion.
Massive.
Wow. But okay, diving into TA, we swept last week a major swing here, and we closed below of it. This week we came down, and what we could see often happened is that right now we are trying to get above this high and, for example, take out the next high right here, something like this. This is a draw of liquidity. And leave a fair value gap. It's a little bit the same old story as the rest, but we created multiple fair value gaps here on this move, way back move up. So bear in mind that we could see a flush, not today, not tomorrow, but in the coming weeks, right? To fill up this imbalance and eventually go higher. So keep in mind of that. And here we have a big supply zone. So that will be finally the target of this expansion to the upside. So that is resting between 1.85 and $3. So I believe we will see that. But is it the time to see it right now in this coming days or coming week? I don't know. Of course, we don't know. So let's dive into a lower time frame. What do we see? It's the same story a little bit on Solana, where with this drop on Monday, we didn't touch the daily fair value gap here. So there's also a draw of liquidity right here, draw of liquidity. And yesterday's candle was a little bit crazy, right? So let's see what we could see. Okay, we bounced off on an 18-hour order block. That's the reason why we get a reaction there. And what could be the case is that we take out the previous week high and then reject again. Then we get the same story as for Solana. So that could be the case. Now let's see. What do we have for a candle today? Open low. Let me check. Okay, we are coming into a little bit of a supply right here. I don't see a clear range at the moment on higher time frame. And that is what I like and prefer to form a nice range. And let me check. Trending down right here. This is a range. Right, this is your range high at 1.21. Your range low is at 87 cents. We are into premium pricing. So keep in mind of that. Let's see what the pivot zones are saying. Okay, we could come higher. That's also in alignment with the supply zone for today. And our daily pivot zone is acting nice as the low for today is also acting nice as support, and the weekly is also pretty nice. So what we could see is further upside for this week, and then my draw of liquidity will be the previous week high. So now we can, with that being said, we could see perhaps a nice opportunity for a position. Let me check. Did we touch that 45 minutes? No, we didn't touch that. But that could be an ultimate an ultimate sniper entry where we take out these lows, came into that 45-minute order block, and then shoot back up with the news, something like that, right? Just an idea. You never know. I will place an alert there. But we do have some more, perhaps some refined zones. What's a little bit the case, we have here a demand, here a sell to buy model right here, but that is mitigated already by the last push here up to the downside. So I would prefer a wick of a wick into this 45-minute demand zone, and I expect that the low for today is in, unless we came back into the supply zone. So that is for multiple assets right now the case. I don't want to see higher prices. I want to see further retracement into the CPI or into the New York session, and then came into an entry, a long entry, right? So this could be a nice entry where my final target could be something like this. But of course, in the supply zone, you need to TP eventually. Yeah, that's a little bit my story.
All right. Awesome, man. I think we can do one more and then call it a day. What do you think?
Yeah, cool.
Let me check which ones we had. Oh yeah, Arweave. There's like one of Arweave. So we'll do Arweave and then we're done because Dennis asked for Arweave. So let's do Arweave. Sorry, Dennis, I kind of walked over it. Let me just answer one more question. Let's see, what is the name / URL of the indicator for the pivot zones? It is the pivot zones indicator, but the thing is that it won't be of any use unless you have Minoma Analytics, because the data comes from the Minoma Analytics platform. So it's Minoma Analytics indicator. All right, AR, final one. Let's finish strong.
Wow, AR.
I see you've already done some TA on it.
Yeah, it's from the past, and look where it bounced from. So this is not demand, this is a fair value gap.
You should have set an alert.
Yeah, man. Law of liquidity. I don't know when I did it, but this is I think this could be the bottom. I know Auken likes this coin.
Yeah, Auken loves this coin.
I know, but this is a great. This is a great low. Okay, now let's dive into.
Yeah, that is a good low.
Yeah, here, or this is also a good low. It's looking pretty nice.
That's the kind of low you'd like to introduce to your parents.
Yeah. Okay, let me check 1 moment. Okay. Now, can we find a nice position into the coming days? This is Monday low, the Monday flush. I don't know why this one reacts there. But I don't like this low on the Monday low.
I don't like it either.
So we didn't take out any. Yeah, the only thing we take out this one here, but we don't have any supply or demand stacking up in this region here. I don't know why it bounced from there, but I expect lower prices for this week. Doesn't mean for today, but perhaps the end of the week. And I do expect that we take out this low as liquidity. I will put in an alert right now, so perhaps I can now catch a swing long. Anyway, and the structure is pointing still down. Let me check on the hourly. It's the same story a little bit as for Solana, looking like the same. Something like this. Here we have also created a new range here. So, and here we have our market structure high on the hourly. So market structure high. So in order to get back bullish again, you need to break that 1 hourly market structure high. So that is far away. That's at $25, 25.3. So locally we have this. Let me check on what the pivot point is saying. Okay, it's covered nicely. So we could expect some higher prices also for today. I called it yesterday already. We could see a midweek reversal, and I do believe that this will be the case for today at least, and perhaps tomorrow, and then Friday attacking the lows again.
Yeah, it does seem that all around, a lot of assets still need to seem that they need to take out their lows, which is my bias as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's for Solana the case. It's for this one the case. We didn't tap.
It's for Bitcoin the case.
Bitcoin the case. So yeah, and it's not a rare event that we get a relief bounce right now because of that drop of, yeah, of course on Thursday last week, but now especially on Monday and Tuesday, right? We only came lower. That everything needs to cool off. It's the same thing as we get the pump. Price need to cool off. And what is also a little bit concerning right here at this moment, I should not look for longs here at this moment of time. We are stacking up, and that was the same case of Bitcoin yesterday. That is why the reason why I took a shot. Here we have a low, creating a high, and then we have a low. And then we're creating not much. We are not taking out much liquidity. We are stacking up higher lows against higher highs. So we get a nice liquidity curve. That was also the case on Doge. That's also the reason why I took the short last week. Sorry, on Sunday. So I need to be aware of that. So if we get a proper break back to bearish, then we can look for shorts. But I don't know for sure if it will happen today, because here we have an order block. Here we have a zone. For today, I don't like this trade idea. To trade, at least Near is much interesting, and Pepe, but I already shared that idea. And we have news incoming in 20 minutes now. These are relative equal lows. Often they get taken out. Wouldn't be surprised that I will place an alert at around, let's say 21.4. I will place an alert, and if it gets there, then I need to look, okay, how's the reaction there, to look for an entry, then target the market structure high, the supply zone on the hourly. That is my point of view. I should also not short it right now.
Yeah, if I can add my 2 cents to that one more time, pulling out the fair value gap stats, you see like the same setups more or less all around. So we have this fair value gap here on AR as well, which is absolutely massive. Like this is a massive fair value gap of 11.99%. Huge, like huge. There's only, I mean, let's get 4% and above, because it's so big that there's not that many of them. 62. Well, let's take 62 data points. And it's basically the same thing as what we just covered on Solana. So we see the same thing happening here, where it's reaching into this massive fair value gap. And this works because usually it indicates momentum and direction, like so directional momentum, so to say. So you have a big dump on a day, then, usually it's rare that price just V-shaped recovers from that. And what you see here is that if you take the fair value gap, and what I did here, okay, what are the chances of reversing this after 5 days? So before Sunday evening, then we see that only 24% of these will have had a full fill until here, and only 12.9% of these will have had a reversal, close above that. So an enormous reversal to the upside is another reason this week that seems unlikely. So this right now is resistance, this fair value gap. Would not be surprised to see a similar thing as we saw in Bitcoin, where you fill it and then go for the lows. So another piece of confluence that we have direct resistance above us right now.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, Tim, I think we did our job. I think we did our duty. I think we're going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's time.
One question about bread.
Okay, answer it. What do you think about bread?
Yeah, I will look at it. On bread. Yeah, bread. This is what you want to see, right?
Nice. That's better.
This is very nice. This is a very nice pivot. Didn't confirm yet, of course, but this looks great. We're tapping into to the weekly fair value gap, which was missing on Solana, right? So
yeah.
So this is what you want to see. What price is always doing is seeking liquidity, and when we are trending up, price is seeking first liquidity at externals. So this was an external, and this one didn't go higher, but then eventually we creating a high, and then price is going for the internal liquidity, and internal liquidity are fair value gaps or order blocks. And in this case, we tapped the fair value gap and look at the reaction, and now we are seeking back to external liquidity. So your draw of liquidity for this one is a new high. So this is your draw of liquidity. It's not. This is it. This is what price is doing. Price is doing seeking liquidity, and this is looking great. Also tapping into. I don't know for sure if it has it. This is a 12-hour fair value gap. Let me check if it's. Let me zoom in. Yeah, great. We take out this liquidity here into the 12-hourly fair value gap, so it's looking pretty nice. Of course, we had here a 12-hour order block, but I don't expect much lower prices. So looking for a opportunity, right? Looking for an opportunity. Let me check if we do have already broken structure at the moment. No, we don't have yet. It's the same story a little bit. But for this one, I believe that the low is in at this moment. I think this is a good low because we take out this liquidity here, came into a 12-hour fair value gap, into a weekly fair value gap. So I don't see any reason why this isn't a good low. Now let's check if we have much confluences with a bottoming formation on the lower time frame. And I don't see it yet. I think it needs to have a little bit more time displacement to look for a nice bottom local formation. But on the higher time frame, I do expect higher prices. So yeah, that's a little bit my point of view of bread.
All right, awesome, man. And could you maybe do a quick look at WIF? Talk with head, just maybe the higher time frames. Sorry, Marion, I missed that, but I've seen you, or I forgot about it, but I seen you mention it before. So let's take a look at this one. I see you got your TA ready.
Yeah, this is one I've had on my watch list. We already mitigated this Model 1 accumulation, where we have 1, 2, 3, broke structure, came back, boom, and take out the all-time high. So that one is done. So that is cool to see. Do I expect higher prices? Yes, I do see, because we came back into discount area. Now let's check. Price came with this low into a daily fair value gap right here. So there's also a great, nice little bottom. Could be. Only thing is that Yeah, if you look to great pivot points, you want this is the low, right, of Monday. The Tuesday low is fine, but the Monday low is here. Oh, sorry, the Sunday low. So what you prefer is a low near to the ultimate low, right? So you get a formation like this.
We have ugly lows across the board.
Yeah, it's still ugly low. So could we come lower? Yes, we could. We could. So let's check a little bit if I can see something which isn't mitigated yet. I don't see anything. I don't see anything. And what I do also see is, let me check what we do have. Yeah, this is a new range formed here. Because we are trending up, you pull your range from top to bottom. Let me delete this one. Here we have our initial range high. This is the all-time high, right? And we have initial range low. No, we don't. No, sorry, I was too soon. We didn't touch the equilibrium. We did only on the weekend, so that is not valid. Sorry, I didn't mention anything. So I don't know. These are lows here. I'm not sure about this low. I'm not sure. And also structure here still pointing down. Here we have our 1 hour structure high. There's also supply zone. I don't think it's over yet for the most of the coins, right? I don't think it's over yet.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. I'm afraid we're going to see some more pain.
Yeah. So for Solana, we could see a relief rally today, but I think from tomorrow on, perhaps tomorrow in the New York session, we get a drop, something like this. We get a little bit of relief, trying to break structure on a 1 hourly time frame, because on many pairs we have higher 1 hour structure, right? That was also the case on here on CRV, on
various fair value gaps, ugly lows.
Yeah, ugly. Yeah, so all is in alignment for lower prices. The only thing which I do like is bread. This one is, but also the structure.
Bread is a meme coin, right?
I don't know.
I think it's a meme coin.
Really don't have any how do you say that? Verstand.
Yeah, you don't know what it is.
Knowledge of coins, of project. I don't know. I only look at charts, and the rest I don't care.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
But this one is looking great. But I do believe that eventually we. And what I do like is Pepper, right? Pepper is holding strong. It's not normal how strong this one is.
Yeah, no, crazy.
So yeah, let's see if we get tapped into an entry today. I have my setup clear, so could be a nice one. We have a Model 1 here.
That does look clean.
Look clean. 50 minutes, a little bit of break of structure, not confirming because the candles afterward came down, but it's nice because the structure on the 50 minute is doing like this, right? Where we are stacking this kind of structure. So this is cool. This is looking nice. Perhaps we can come in. 8 minutes to go. We have CPI, so let's see.
Trying to see. I don't have pivot zones on Pepper, unfortunately.
Yeah,
right.
We don't have that, eh? Right? No.
Well, I do have it on the daily, but it's not being parsed correctly. So I mean, hence it's not even in production yet. So there's going to be some bugs. I'll figure it out after. But we should have data on the daily for.
Okay.
The Pepper.
Okay. Cool.
But I'll figure it out. All right, guys. Tim, I think we covered pretty much all of them.
Yes, I think also. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining. I think we found some good setups, nice confluences, and we're patiently waiting for lower. Let's see, we hope we can get some nice entries there. So Tim, thank you again. Everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next stream.
Okay, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers, guys.
Bye.